folks, I'm Tom Vasso and welcome to Board Game Breakfast. Now stop! There are two things that you really need to pay attention to. First of all, the Jack Massey Memorial Fund auction ends tonight. So if you're watching this on Monday, I think it ends at midnight Central Standard Time, but don't fool around. There's still time to add items, there's still time to bid, there's still time to raise money to help other people, and you can find out all about this at jackvassell.org. Go to Board Game Geek, go to dicetower.com, we got a link to the auction, check it out. Secondly, tomorrow, Tuesday, the 15th of November, Dice Tower Con tickets go on sale. Last year, they sold out. This year, I expect them to sell out. Do you want to go to the most fun convention of 2017? Definitely do so. So at dicetowercon.com. Make a note, get in there when they go on sale. Just be prepared. I'm warning you now. And let's see. This week, we will be at Board Game Geek Con, BGG Con, and that is in Dallas, Texas. Many of you are going to be there. We have a booth. We'll have some promos, so swing by if you'd like to get promos, but just swing by and say hi to us regardless. We'll be playing games at the booth, so if you stop by at any given time, I'll be there, or Sam, or Z, or Eric, or Jason, and different people will be there, but we'll also be all over the convention. Now, there's no show this year at the convention. We just wanted to have the booth, and we just want to hang out and have fun with people. Although if you do go to any event, I highly recommend going to the Battling Tops tournament at 11 p.m. Friday night because, well, you just should. But anyhow, if you want to play a game with Dice Tower folks, this is one of the best conventions to do so. So if you're there, we'd love to play a game with you. Although if you're playing games with me, you're playing new stuff I've never played before probably because I got a lot of Essen games I got to get played. All right, so, and a Q&A today at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But the difference this time is I will be joined by the other guys, so it isn't just me. So tune in and look for that then. All right, well, let's get to the news. Okay, quite a bit of news this week. Alhambra, Queen is making a second big box of Alhambra. And this one's even bigger, I guess, because it includes Alhambra and the expansions, but also is going to include the card game, the dice tank game, Alhambra Gardens in Granada. None of those really got a ton of positive buzz, but maybe altogether they're worth it. I don't know that I've played most of them. I have played Alhambra and all its expansions, and that's fantastic. Then we have a new expansion for Tyrants of the Underdark, the Aberration and Undead, some more cards added to that game. Probably people who like that game will be thrilled to know more cards are coming. A real-time strategy game, computer game called Iron Harvest is coming out. Now, why would I mention this in a board game section? Just because it's taking place in the same universe that Scythe was in, and I know a lot of people like Scythe. Elder Signs has another expansion coming called Omens of the Deep. I find it fascinating that this little dice game in the Cthulhu continues to have expansions. It seemed like the expansion had petered off, and now there's quite a few of them coming this way. Walmart has Munchkin is now in the stores with a little mini expansion. I guess it's exclusive to Walmart, the Dragon 4 More. But they also have another one called Munchkin Wonderland. This is not actually Munchkin the card game. This is a little board game for kids. It's based, I think, on Munchkin Treasure Hunt. And so it's, these is available in different spots. The Dresden Files cooperative game. This is a game that was kickstarted last year, but it's going to be coming to everybody in the summer of 2017. Cool Mini or Not has done a new cover for Council 4. They're going to be reprinting Council 4, which is great because Council 4 is one of those games that I tried to get for Dice Tower Essential Line. That's how much I like this game. It's a really strong game, and they're making it look really pretty. I'm really glad for that. Splatter's reprinting Antiquity. A lot of people have been looking for that game. It's been a splatter game that folks have been wanting for a while. A heavy Euro-style game, so it's coming back in. And the Toy Hall of Fame has added Little People, The Swing to the Toy Hall of Fame, but you don't not hear about those. Dungeons and Dragons is in the Toy Hall of Fame. Can you imagine that making it in the 80s? Probably not. Eggert Spiel and Stronghold have announced Coal Baron, the card game. This is by Kramer and Kiesling. Coal Baron, the board game, did very well, so now a card game version of it. And Asmodee has announced a new Braintopia game. This is a game where you have like little puzzles you got to figure out. Some of them are just by touch alone. It looks like an interesting concept. I would like to see the whole thing actually as a game. We'll have to wait and see on that. And then finally, and this one's really intriguing news to me, Fantasy Flight Games announced a new expansion for Android Netrunner called Terminal Drive, or actually I don't even know how to read my own handwriting there, but they have a new expansion for Android Netrunner. And this expansion is like a legacy type expansion. There's packs of cards that you can open at a certain time. There's going to be stickers that you include. I don't know if you're ripping stuff up, but there's definitely stickers to add. This is really interesting. I don't think I'm going to play it at all because I don't play Android Netrunner anymore. I can't keep up with the metagame at all. But I'm really kind of fascinated to see what does this mean for the future of Android Netrunner and how are people going to accept this? And this is the first, they're not calling it legacy. They're not calling it, it's more like maybe like a campaign, but there's definitely packs of cards you can open. They definitely hint towards, hey, if you do this, you can't go back. So we'll have to wait and see. Well, that is the news. Let's go to Suzanne for Kickstarter news.
Happy breakfast, everybody. I'll be at BGG-Con later on this week, so I'm not sure I'll have a segment for you next episode, but I do have some games to talk about today, so let's get going. In Emergence event, you take on the role of a captain exploring the universe. This is a 3X game because this is a benign exploration with no extermination involved. But there is a lot of expansion and exploitation as you travel to find resources that will help you upgrade your ship, that will help you venture deeper into the expanding universe. Mercs Miniatures is also the publisher of Myth and the Banner Saga Warbands games, and they've learned a lot from previous campaigns. Emergence event is a card-driven game, but it does have 4 snazzy spaceship minis for players, and there's an optional expansion that adds solo rules as well. You can get the base game for a pledge of just $30 plus shipping, but if you go for the pledge that includes the expansion, you'll also get early delivery of the base game for a pledge of $70 plus shipping. Omen Edge of the Aegean is the follow-up game to the popular Omen A Reign of War from Small Box Games. This is a 2-player card game set in the world of Greek mythology, and it's all about managing your hand and coins while waging battle over cities against your opponent. For a small deck and quick playing game, Omen has a lot of tension because you're constantly making choices between how you need to use the cards that can each serve different purposes depending on how and when they're played. Timing is everything in Omen as you battle over 3 different cities, leverage the abilities of mythical creatures, and hope you have the right cards at the end of the game for victory. Small Box runs quick campaigns, so at the time of this episode, you'll have just a couple of days to jump in on this. If you want just the cards, you can get a copy of the game for only $10, but for just $15, you'll get the full package, which includes 15 custom metal coins. Keeper is the next game in the famous Key series. Keeper is a worker placement game that has a lot of player interaction because you can use other players' boards and other players can jump in with you on that action. You have to plan and time your actions because some are only available in specific seasons. In Keeper, you're going to be managing a country and village board, and the country board has a unique folding feature so that the board flexes and changes between seasons, offering different spaces and action options. On top of that, because there are unique meeples, R&D Games has partnered with MeepleSource to produce a set of 36 special meeples that add a ton of personality to the game. Now, you can get a standard copy of Keeper for £45 plus shipping. But if you want the edition with all those awesome MeepleSource characters, you'll need to pledge £75 plus shipping. And last but not least, Level 99 Games and Jasco have teamed up to bring us Mega Man Pixel Tactics. Now, I know licensed games can be tricky beasts, but Pixel Tactics is a proven, excellent 2-player combat game with a ton of depth, and the Mega Man IP is well suited for it. If you're not familiar with Pixel Tactics, each card is a character that can be used for its ability as a leader or in battle, but the position of the card on the battlefield changes what that character adds to the game. The Mega Man version has 2 sets available, each with 28 unique characters from the video games. The nostalgia factor is high, and the amount of game between the 2 sets is immense because these can also be combined with any other Pixel Tactics games. You can get either base set for a pledge of $20 each plus shipping, or you can grab both for a Mega Retro Battle Action Pack for just $35 plus shipping. All right, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, if I see you at BGG-Con, feel free to say hi. I always like to meet a new friend.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vassell.
Jason Levine.
Hey, and today we have a question from Robert, and he asked a question a lot of people ask us, but I thought we'd get Jason's opinion on this. Kickstarters. Okay, so yeah, so Kickstarters, they run the Kickstarter, people back to Kickstarter, blah blah blah. The game's coming out in July, and it's almost out. It's coming soon. It's coming to backers, and it's being sold at Gen Con before the backers can get it, or it's sold at Essen before the backers can get it. Should backers feel the right to get it first before everybody else? Is it wrong for a company to sell it at Gen Con / Essen before backers get it?
Well, it's very interesting because I'm not a fan of Kickstarter because I don't like exclusives and I think games shouldn't have exclusives. But I do feel that if a game has been Kickstarted, that the people who put the money in first should get the copies first. I feel that, ship out your copies, make sure all the people who put in the money that you get the game printed get their game as soon as they can get it, and then everyone else can get the game. If you're bringing it to a convention, usually it's because the game was just printed, and you might not be able to, but usually you could work it out with your distributor to get it distributed to everyone else at the same time that you're going to.
Well, it could actually be very difficult for that, and this is why I don't have as big of a problem with it. I know that conventions are expensive to go to. To have a booth at an expansion is an extremely expensive thing, and if you have a game that you have stock of and you can get to that convention, to not bring it in because you don't want to get the backers upset, you are losing money. And let's say a booth costs you $3,000 and you don't make any money because you don't have that new game there. That new game would pay for that $3,000 and more. That seems almost like throwing money away. And backers should realize that because backers backed you, hopefully not to get the game, but to make your project a reality. And part of making your project a reality is to have a hot game at a convention that people want to get. Now, if you then proceed to go and put it in retail stores across America, and it's able to be bought everywhere, and the last people to get it are your backers, well then
they might be more angry.
I can see why they would be irritated with you.
Yeah, I can see that too. I mean, if you like I said earlier, not that if even though I don't back things, but if I did back things and they were being sold at Gen Con, and then Gen Con or Essen or any of these conventions, they only bring a limited supply. They might have 500 of the game.
But let's say you get it like a week or two later. Would that be a problem?
No, that wouldn't be a problem.
What about a month?
If it was in retail, it would be the biggest problem. If it was a month later and it didn't go to retail until maybe 2 or 3 weeks after that, and I was a backer, I wouldn't have a problem. I guess it all depends how quickly you get it after a convention. If you get it a month and a half, 2 months later, and it's already out in stores by the time you get it, I would be more upset.
Yeah, well, that one I would not criticize anyone for being upset about that.
If you got it a week after a convention because they needed some supply for the convention and the rest came over from China and then your copies went out, I wouldn't be upset.
Well, usually what they do is they fly the copies in for convention. And you can't fly in thousands of copies. Flying in a copy usually costs as much.
Lot.
It costs double the game, right? You're doubling the price, and you don't even make that much money at conventions. But the fact that you can get it out there and have people at the convention talking about it, that's invaluable buzz for your game. You could argue that maybe you should set your Kickstarter and things up so that you get the game way before the conventions, but just doesn't ever seem to work that way.
No,
and it definitely even happened with us this year. Our Kickstarter goals came in right around Gen Con time, and I was shipping them out as Gen Con was going on, but we didn't want to not have stuff at Gen Con.
Yeah, so we had the Healy minis and King of Tokyo.
We had hope that the people who backed the Dice Tower would not be upset about that the money that they had given to the Kickstarter was to back the Dice Tower and not so much to get stuff. Now we want to get you your stuff, obviously, but it's an interesting thing looking at both sides of it. I would caution everybody involved to be patient with these things. At the same time, though, if you are doing Kickstarter, treat those backers as well as you can.
Yes, and in reality, don't get so mad at the companies over things like that because there's a lot more things about Kickstarter to get mad at, and I don't think the biggest thing is that you got your copy a week after a convention.
All right, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
Jason Levine.
Hi, welcome to the 101. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the miniatures from Conan. Probably one of the hottest games out there this month. It's really, really nice to see when a company really does things well. And these miniatures are absolutely fantastic. As you can see, this snake here is really detailed. And of course Conan, who I've already painted up, is just really right where he needs to be. Now, the problem with some of these miniatures are that there are some bendy swords, but overall the detail on them is really nice. This dark one, or the dark beast guy or demon, is really kind of cool, and I really enjoy him. So if anything, I have to give these miniatures, after going through all this box set, I have to give them at least an 8 out of 10. They're not GW quality, but if you're able to get this game when it comes retail, I really suggest it. Not only is it a good game, it comes with some fantastic miniatures, and they're a lot of fun to paint. There's a lot of them. If you get the King's Edition, if you got the Kickstarter, you're looking at 220 figures to paint. The regular set, I believe it's 110 somewhere in there. But really nice to paint, a real joy, good, solid. Couple bendy swords, but you can fix that with some hot water. Well, that's it for this week from Painting 101. Until next time, I'm Rob Warren, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Hey there, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover, and I want to talk to you about my board game collection and explain to you why they are here and how important they are to being here. These games in my board game collection are the top 1% of all games I've played or want to play. They're the elite, the best of the best, and it's only going to get better. You might say these board games are the best of the best of the best. Those games which can't cut my top 100 will still be the best of the best, but they will simply be the rest of the best of the best, but not the best of the best of the best, like the best games in my board game collection. Board games in other game collections are no doubt being played as the best, but those games, however good, are not the best of the best. They are only the rest of the best. Even the worst games that make it into my shelf, or the worst games of the rest of the best are better than even the best of the rest of the best. Many of you are probably wondering which games are the best games in my board game collection. That future list is where I would list the number one game of my board game collection, or the best of the best of the best of the best. You see, there can only be one number one board game. If you list your top 10 games that you rate in your collection as the ones that you enjoy the most, then you make a second list of top 10 games that you play the most. How many of those games will be on both lists? I'm curious because we have a tendency to play longer games and give them a higher rating because we don't play them as often. Therefore, are we adding weight to our rating systems based on the anticipation of that game, of the possibility of playing that game in the future? In fact, there are only 8 games in the Board Game Geek Top 100 that are listed as 30 minutes or less. And if you take away the 2-player games and the party games, we're left with 2 games. Splendor, a 4-player game, and Roll For It, which is technically a 45-minute game, but it's close. So I'm wondering if you put weight on anticipation of playing a game that you enjoyed once or twice and you're sure you're going to enjoy it again, over the game that's always coming to the table, you're having a good time, but there's not much depth to it. It's quick, it's easy, it's fun. But it's fun. So maybe we're not putting enough emphasis on fun, and the people we're playing with who are having fun with that game too. So maybe Can't Stop should be one of the top 10 games in your collection. Which games in your collection overlap? I'd be interested in knowing in the comments below. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Okay, so what's coming from the Dice Tower this week? Well, we're going to be at Board Game Geek all week, but we do have several videos coming. The biggest thing we're doing this week is all week long we're going to do our 12 Games of Christmas series, where we're going to talk about games that you should get for people for Christmas. New games, old games, and in different categories. Sam's Top 100 is going to continue. You'll see the first video from Suzanne's Top 100 go up this week. Also some games. I'll be taking a look at Cottage Garden, Fields of Greens, Maduras, other games you'll be seeing coming from the Dice Tower this week. I should also mention once again that from the Dice Tower this week, we are opening up registration for Dice Tower Con. You'll see a live Q&A today with me and the guys, and there's a new Dice Tower is going up this Tuesday, and of course all the other podcasts in the Dice Tower network, and you can find all that stuff at dicetower.com.
Hey, I haven't always been the suave, debonair gentleman that you see before you today. No. Throughout middle school and high school, I was a goofy art geek with an affinity for forcing my friends to film silly little videos with me. I know, right? Well, as a result, I was too nerdy to be accepted by the cool kids, but I was too stubborn to allow myself not to continually try to gain their acceptance. As a result, I spent a good number of years being rejected and excluded by my fellow members of the student body. And during one of those many days while struggling with the feeling that my hobbies weren't cool enough, my sister surprised me by stating that she thought otherwise. "Look what happens when you and get your friends together," she said. "You tell a story or make a video. You've made a thing, a memory that's going to last." And that was the moment when I started to discover who I was, and more importantly, who I wanted to be. Well, today, I'm still making silly videos, but sometimes I still struggle with the question of whether waxing philosophical about board games actually contributes anything meaningful to society. But then I'm reminded of what's so special about the board gaming hobby. We get so many opportunities to share parts of ourselves with other people, people that we never would have met otherwise, to discover what they're like when they win and what they're like when they lose. And while doing so, creating stories and memories that will last. That is why something as trivial as board games can also be so fundamentally important. I have never been involved with a more diverse group of people than I have while being involved in board game media, local gaming events, and national conventions. Well, right now, there's a lot of people who are feeling frustrated, alienated, even threatened. And as trivial as board gaming is in the big scheme of things, each of us has the opportunity to take what we've learned from our experiences gaming with friends and strangers and use that to have a positive impact on those that we engage with outside of the hobby. At least, I hope that we do. Because I've never met another community who consistently knows who they are and embraces who others want to be. And let's not lose that.
Hey guys, it's lunchtime! So today we're dressed a little more casual than normal.
Very casual in our
kigurumis.
And that's because we are looking at a really fun family animal themed game called
Jeju Island. Jeju Island is designed by Gary Kim, Young Hyuk Kim, Yong Min Young, published by Grail Games, plays ages 7 and up, 2 to 4 players in about 30 minutes.
In Jeju Island, you will the actions will be basically to pick up a stack of player tokens, that at least a stack that has one of your player tokens. You'll choose to move that stack either to the left or to the right, dropping one token on each spot around the island as you go. And then once that is complete, any player whose player token is on top of any stack will take a sightseeing tile from that stack. And in addition, there's the
Harabang statue.
which allows that player to grab an additional tile if they happen to end up where the Harabang statue is.
I just love saying that, by the way.
It's a fun word.
Yeah, it's fun. You get bonuses. So I really love the theme of this game. It's really cute. I mean, it has animals in it. That's super cute. The colors are fun. Easy mechanics, like easy game to pick up. And you can play it in about 30 minutes, I'd say?
Easily 30 minutes.
Easily, so you can even get 2 games in. So quite good. Really enjoy it. Definitely think you should try this game out. So that's it. I think it's back to playing another round of Jeju Island.
Yay!
So
Very
exciting.
excited about that.
All right, thanks so much. See you next time. Bye.
Hey folks, today I'd like to talk a little bit about being silly. Now there are some games that are just by nature silly. There are games that tell you to be silly, and I've never always been a big fan of games that like order you to be silly, but there are games that are just naturally silly. A good example would be Happy Salmon. If you ever played Happy Salmon from North Star Games, you are like happy salmoning people, high-fiving them, changing places with them, doing all sorts of fun things. And it's a fun, silly game. There are lots of party games where they just by nature tend to be silly. And then there are games in which you don't dare be silly, like Freedom the Underground Railroad. So there's like different extremes in that regard. And I've always liked the being silly. I mean, I like being silly here on the show, and I've had some people basically say, you know, hey, you guys need to grow up. And you know, sometimes that is a point of party games and gaming is sometimes games get a bad rap because people look at them and say, you guys are being too silly. But I think that there is a time and place to be silly. I don't mind being silly because I like to stay young, and the silliness is a bit of fun. This is why I like working with kids at my church. I'm in charge of the children's activities because I don't mind going out and making a fool of myself. Being silly though, can it bother people around you or even at the same game? Well, definitely it can bother people around you. Happy Salmon is a really fun game, and this is the one that brings it to mind. And every time I see it at a convention, the people playing it are having a blast. There are people who come up and watch, and those people have a blast. And the people next to them playing that Euro game are definitely not having a blast. And so if the people next to you are screaming and yelling, it can be really kind of a pain in the neck if someone next to you is running around and high-fiving and making all kinds of sorts, or just really loud laughter and really loud screaming and yelling, whether they're playing Captain Sonar or Dice Duels or some game that's really loud, or just a silliness can be involved. And so I think you have to be kind of thoughtful around people around you, but you have to be thoughtful in both ways. You have to be thoughtful and say, is my game bothering other people? But you also have to be thoughtful and say, is my game going to be disrupted by pretty much anything? And if so, maybe we shouldn't play here in the biggest room at a convention. So you got to kind of focus on both of those. I think essentially it's just be thoughtful of those around you. But these silly games, are they problematic? Some people look down and go, that's too silly. Well, to those people I say, okay, if we want to play silly games, then we can. And if I want to play a game that makes me look like a fool, I can. Now, be warned, there are some people who simply don't like that. They're uncomfortable, and to force them or shame them into playing one of these games, I don't think is a good idea either. But what about being silly in a game that isn't silly at all? I like the trash talking games. Trash talk for fun, not be like, oh, I'm gonna beat you guys, but just like, I'm gonna come and crush you here. And that really works well in Amerithrash games, right? But it doesn't work nearly as well in a Euro-style game when I'm sitting there, I'm going to have a bigger control in that territory than you are. I will come back and get you. And I found sometimes, because I like to trash talk, it's fun and silly, I found sometimes that in some games, it's not really appreciated by the people that I'm playing with. And this whole silly thing, and people are like, this is a game to take seriously. For me, serious doesn't equal fun, but I can see that it does for many people. And there are some games where there's no talking at all. My wife and I played Tic-Tac-Toe 3D the other day, and there was no talking at all because we were concentrating so much on board. When my daughter and I played the Jack and the Beanstalk game, The Blood of an Englishman, we barely talked back and forth because we were so concentrating on the game. And when we played the puzzle hunt games, where you're going through and trying to figure out a puzzle, there's not a lot of room for silliness because we're on the clock here, baby. But for many games, that silliness is inherent with some people and not with others. And so I think that all of us have to take a look at ourselves. For me, hey, I'm being silly and it's fun and other people can get into it. But you know what? I have to gauge the table. And if the people at the table aren't having a good time, then I need to consider that. At the same time, if someone's acting a little silly and you're like, come on, maybe you need to lighten up. So this is kind of a back and forth thing. As with many things, compromise is needed, or being in the middle of the road. I think silliness has a place in games. Some games absolutely call for it, and they can be a blast to play. Some games, it's almost inappropriate to be silly during them, or it will bother the other people at the table, so you have to take that into account also. Anyhow, tell me what you guys think in the comments. Let's continue on with Board Game Breakfast.
Hi friends from all around the world, my name is Niels Brettspiele, and today in The Best and the Worst we are looking for an Italian city, Burano, QSF games. Let's follow up what I like on it. My favorite part on Burano is this pyramid building. I have never seen in a game like this before, or even in a different game, a pre-term programming possible action pyramid like this. That is outstanding, unique. It's blowing my mind. It's so brilliant. I really like that. So on your next turn, you have only the actions from green. After that, you can pick from these 3 different colors the actions. And when you're going down like this, possible, you can add the orange action as well. But exactly this has a little bit of a flip side. So this game really don't forget mistakes. When you're making a mistake and you start out with green here on top of your pyramid and you cannot really use the green action, or it's not a really good action on your turn, then this brain burner ruins this pre-programming of your pyramid, can ruin your whole season, technically the whole game. So you have to be experienced, or at least lucky or good in strategic pre-planning to build your pyramid correctly, and that takes a little bit of a learning curve. That was my lovely favorite part from Niels for Burano, my Italian lovely city. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name's Dan, and this is Cora, and we're here to talk to you today about board games for children of around 5 and under. Today we're going to talk about this game. What's it called, Cora?
Hamster Clam.
Hamster Clam. Actually, Hamster Clan, but I can see where the mistake came from.
Hamster Clan is a cooperative roll and move game about a family of hamsters hoarding food in order to prepare for winter. It was number 1 on my wish list when I went to Essen for the first time ever this year. I'm not sure quite what that says about me as a gamer, but I'm unrepentant. Each player takes it in turn to roll a dice and move their hamster around their burrow and out into the open in order to harvest and store wheat, clover and carrots before the last leaf falls off the tree and winter sets in. It all sounds rather pedestrian. However, what makes the game really fun is the various moving parts on the board, which Cora and I will go into shortly.
So, Cora, what do you think about this game?
I like it because we win the other day when we just played it, not like see a video of it.
Yeah.
And today we got 5 and we're supposed to get 6.
Yeah, we got really close to the end. This is actually really quite difficult for a children's co-op game, and that's not particularly a bad thing. What I really like about it is the moving parts. They remind me of all the pop-up books I used to have as a kid, and I love that kind of stuff. Do you like all the lifts and the trains and the wheels and things?
Yeah, there's like a swing.
Yeah.
And there's like a cart.
Yeah.
And there's a lift.
Yeah. There's a swing and a wheel. Yeah, it's really good. So, we give it 2 hamster thumbs up.
Okay, so let's see what's on the shelves this time and why they're still in my collection. I have Eldritch Horror, which of course you guys know I really enjoy. I have several expansions. I have more. This box is barely fitting on here, so this is going to have to double in size. I'm going to need to use 2 boxes. How I'll fit it on, I don't know, but I really do enjoy the game. Airlines Europe, this is still a fantastic game. Unbelievable. In fact, there's a great shelf of games here. But this is a great stock market style game. Really enjoy it. Blood Rage, come on. I talked about it all last year. Still really enjoying it. I got a painted set here, so that makes me happy. Mission Red Planet. This is the 2nd edition of this game. I think highly of this one. It is a neat kind of area control where players are going to be able to, you're sending people up to Mars, so there's some neat aspects there. Here I have, this is an interesting thing. It's called Masks. It's just 1,000 NPCs for RPGs. And so the book is just full of lots of these different NPCs, and I don't use it that much, but it's a neat idea, and the book is dedicated to my son, Jack Vassal, so I keep it also for sentimental reasons. Castles of Mad King Ludwig and Suburbia, you'll notice both of them here. If one of them had to go, it would be Castles, even though I think the theme of Castles is awesome. I love building a castle. I just really like Suburbia. And then they're both around Domain. Domain is in my collection for two reasons. One, it is an amazing game. And two, over a decade ago, my wife just went out and randomly bought a game hoping she got one that was on my wish list, and she did, and that really meant a lot that she went out of her way to do that. So, but it's still a fantastic game, area control, mean game by the same guy who did Catan. And then I got nothing personal. Yes, it's my own game that I designed, but I mean, if I didn't like it, why would I have designed it? And I do like to play it, so this is my copy of that. So that's a really great shelf of games this week, guys. We'll see what we look at next week.
Good morning, guys. It's Saturday the 12th of November, and that means today is the first day of the Spellenspectakel in the Netherlands, in Eindhoven. And today we will be seeing which game will be the Dutch Game of the Year. The Dutch Spellenprijs will be handed out, and we're going to check it out. First of all, the nominees were for the family game Quadropolis, Codenames, and Adventureland, and the expert prize, the nominees were Haspelknecht, Voyages of Marco Polo, and Alchemist. There is a clear theme amongst the winners because it's all about exploration and traveling. So the winners are Adventureland and the Voyages of Marco Polo. This week I am playing a game that is one of those two, and I've chosen for the family version, so this week I am playing Adventureland. Adventureland uses a very smooth and fast-flowing mechanic. When it is your turn, you flip over 2 cards and add to the board whatever the cards tell you. Companions, gold, herbs, swords, and then you get to move twice. Your adventurers all start in the northwest corner, and they only get to move in straight lines, either south or east. You gather resources, those resources you added to the board. And when you've got the feeling that you're buffed up enough, then you pick a fight with a monster. When you fight, you will use swords. Every sword that you play gives you a dice to add to your strength. The game comes with 3 different scenarios that really all play differently. I only played the second scenario. More scenarios are announced. It is a very neat game, and of the 3 nominated games, I think this one deserved to win. Adventureland. So now you know what the Dutch are playing. I am very curious what will be hot at BGGCon. I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for watching.
We're looking at some stuff from MeepleSource. MeepleSource has made some stuff here for Elder Signs and Eldritch Horror. And, well, actually, you can use this stuff for Arkham Horror and for any, actually, of these Cthulhu-type games. I mean, mostly anything that these brain pieces, which represent sanity, I really like them. And then the heart pieces, which represent health, and honestly, you can use this stuff in a lot of games. And these aren't your cutesy Valentine's Day hearts. These are real hearts. You should use these in Love Letter. That's probably actually too gruesome. Then we have these, which are clues made for Elder Sign, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind using them actually in the other games too. Of course, I would need more, I think, than are here. And then the Elder Signs themselves, these are really nice looking. And again, these were made for Elder Sign, but would work in Eldritch Horror or Arkham Horror. And then we got some Eldritch or Doom symbols here too. So this is really nice stuff. Eldritch Horror is a game that I like, and it's one of the games I like to upgrade and make look really cool. So this stuff's neat for that, but also I can use this stuff maybe in Mansions of Madness and other games like that. So that is the Elder Sign / Eldritch Horror, although it can be used in any Cthulhu stuff from MeepleSource.
Well, howdy, folks. Howdy. With Essen 2016 gone, and this year's big releases all pretty much out, it's easy to get into that mindset of, I want all the new games.
I want, me, mine, now.
And for all but the very few, that's as likely as Well done, 2016. You suck. But I don't want to fixate on the games I don't have or can't get. Most of them will turn up sometime. And for the others, you can enjoy the thrill of the chase.
Not good enough, Sonny Jim. Coming with you.
What I'm trying to say is yeah, there are lots of great new games out there. But there's always new games out there. But there's great old games out there too. And they were new once, and now they're great new, now old games. And the old games were new games, and they're still great. But the new games that are new now, soon will be old games, and they'll still be great. And then you'll have new games. And what? The fact is, there are too many great games out there that you'll never have the chance to play all of them. Don't let that ruin. Is that Feast for Odin? No, this isn't important.
It's November, and at Snakes and Lattes, that means it is time to step up and fight some cancer. Friday, November 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time marks the beginning of the 5th annual Catanathon Against Cancer. 4 of our intrepid staff members will sit down at the table and play Klaus Teuber's classic Settlers of Catan for as long as people pay us to do so. Last year, we took the fight pretty personally as our IT wizard and one of our regular Catanathoners, Marissa, was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. Now, luckily, with the help of friends, family, and the tireless efforts of Canadian healthcare professionals, she managed to beat it and kicked cancer to the curb. Unfortunately, cancer doesn't like to be beaten. And this year, Trevor, the producer of our podcast and a dear friend of the cafe, was diagnosed with his own cancer. Fortunately, it was caught early and his radiation treatment went well, so the prognosis is good. But at Snakes and Lattes, we never like to stand idly by, so we're getting ready to punch cancer right in its ugly face. Last year, our regulars and our roster of special guests played Catan for 23 and a half hours straight. We raised over $5,000 for the Canadian Cancer Society, an organization that funds cancer research, treatment, and palliative care and counseling for cancer victims and their families. This year, we hope to top that. We are proud to welcome back our sponsor from previous years, Propeller Coffee. Thanks to their generous donation, coffee sales will go towards our fundraising efforts. And we'd like to say a big hello to our new sponsor for 2016, Mill Street Brewery. So, if you would like to help us with our Catanathon, tune your web browser on November 18th to www.snakesandlattes.com/Catanathon, and we will be live streaming all the shenanigans to the World Wide Web. Use the donation links to give as much money as you can to keep us playing. You can even buy special humiliating rewards for the players. Will this be the year that Scott has to eat a weapons-grade hot pepper? Or maybe this will be the year that I've got to shave my head. Maybe, just maybe, we'll be able to break the 24-hour barrier. You know what they say, 5 times is the charm. This year's roster of special guests include YouTube star Andrew Huang, young adult novelist Adrian Kress, radio and TV show host Richard Ryder, TV show presenter AJ Fry, stand-up comedians Gavin Crawford and Andrea Ruda, and more. Even if you can't donate, you can still help us by raising awareness on social media using the hashtag Catanathon. To sum up, Snakes and Lattes Catanathon Against Cancer 5. Watch, tweet, donate, punch cancer in the face.
Well, that's it for another board game breakfast. Guys, thanks so much for coming along and joining us for the ride. Don't forget, Dice Tower Con, the sign up is tomorrow. Don't forget the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund. I'll see you at live Q&A later today. And if you ever get a chance, come to the Miami Zoo. It's a really great place, and it's not even hot right now. Oh, that's a lie. It's a little hot, but it's gonna be less hot as the time goes by. Anyhow, until next time, I'm Tom Vassell. You've been watching Board Game Breakfast on the Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vassell and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff in stock at coolstuffinc.com.